Okay. So, I talk about him because the Svar Chitzon is so obvious that the sun goes around the earth, right? Any kid could see that.
Yeah.
And it's a tremendous chiddush to say otherwise. Okay? So the when that revolution came about, which, as I said, it was an old machlokas, but it gained acceptance. All his mathematics, by the way, was just wrong. I mean, his observations, everything, but he had the right idea. But the point is like this: that there is consequences of changing a premise. It's not just that, well, okay, what's the difference? I mean, between you and me, does it matter if the earth goes around one way or the other way? It had tremendous spiritual consequences because the simple reading of the text refers to the sun going around the earth. I mean, that's a simple way we see it. So why shouldn't the Torah talk that way? I mean, it has to talk about, what really is, and it wouldn't relate to anybody. I mean, one say it's crazy. But the point being that to the simple, Goyish mind, so that was like a revolution. That was part of that and the scientific revolution of Galilee and all that stuff. I mean, started shaking up the Goyish world. But that means that there's from a change in a major premise, there's a lot of hashlachot, there's a lot of consequences. Now, when Rev Papa made his statement, okay, which he got from Beirab. I mean, he brought it from Beirab. I mean, that's what they understood. But that was a tremendous shift in thinking, because up to this point we were considering that when the Torah said Meitav Sedeyu Yishalem, it was saying, you got to pay with your best thing, more than money, more than land. You know what I mean? It's like, more than money, more than metaltalin, definitely more than subin. You just got to, do your best to get the nizak paid back. Okay? So Reb Papa's revolution, which came from the kasha, was to say that really metaltalin is better than karka. That was a revolution. Now, Rev Huna never bought into that, right? Because Rev Huna said, L'chila, you have to give meitav or kesev, and only if you don't have them do you give subin. So he kept the standard way, the standard format of thinking going, okay? Which when the Torah said meitav, it was trying to get you the absolute best, and then money, okay, came into being equal to meitav, but the subin dropped out. That's how Rev Huna did it. But Rev Papa inverted the whole game here. Not game, or what else can I say? The whole system. Okay? Now that also had hashlachot, that had consequences, because once you start talking about money and not land being the main way that the Torah demands this payback, so then you can start talking about gradations between land and metaltalin, between kesev, which the Torah really wants you to give back, because that's the most freedom that the nizak can have. He can go buy his whatever he wants immediately. Then when it says metaltalin is equal to it, because you can get money just fast by just selling your stuff quickly, and then putting land in the lower level, so then we could see why people would then try to introduce a hierarchy. Now, you're not forced to introduce a hierarchy, but by that theory, let's call it, or that understanding that the Torah really wants to give money back in the hands of the nizak, that already admits to Madrega's hierarchy. Okay, so
it seems to open up the possibility that the Torah will pick up on the end of the Beis Yosef, which is that we're really looking at it from a standpoint of the nizak's benefit, and therefore the question of the yad, of the power, is implicit in there.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yes. But it is implicit. It has to wait to become explicit. But the question is there right away.
Yes.
I mean, Rav Papa brings it out. I see.
I,
I'm wondering if I can use I think it's the Brisker tradition that introduced this distinction between Hefza and Gavra. So it seems like it only becomes a Gavra issue implicitly with the Tur and then explicitly for the first time with the Beis Yosef. Until then, the Gavra issue is always implicit, as you say. It's right there with Rav Papa, but it's not until the Beis Yosef that he says, "Wait a minute, what are we talking about here? Are we talking about just a rule, a Hefza-oriented rule that you have to pay back in this format? Is that the issue? It's a formality, or is it the benefit of the Nizak, the Gavra that is at stake?" And that's what the real issue is. How do we benefit him? And if once that becomes the issue explicitly, well, then the argument is going to, as you say, it's going to explode from that point on. Because, well, if we're talking about rights here of the individual, what about the Mazik's right to? What about the Bezdin's power? I mean, if we're going to talk about power, it doesn't become explicit until the Beis Yosef. It doesn't really become explicit, right?
Right. I mean, at least in black and white on the page. I mean, maybe other people spoke about it, but for us, yes. Now, the Lavush, by the way, the Lavush here, Shushan here, over here, really said a svara like we're talking about now, and saying that really Meitav, when the Torah said Meitav Haaretz, it meant that you have to give the best to the Nizak. That means the Nizak has to benefit the best here. And therefore, whatever's better to the Nizak, then you're going to give him. In other words, the Mazik destroyed something. He's really he's Yad al Tachtona, right? He's the bad guy in the bunch here, like you said. He deserves the punishment. I mean, he destroyed something, so he really should have very, very little rights over here. I mean, if you're talking in Svar, and when the Torah says Meitav, it emphasizes that we want to give the Nizak the best. So the best is what the Nizak wants. Okay. Now, now what's called the best? Okay, and where does his like say the Nizak wants Karka, and the Mazik wants to give him Metaltalin. So that is a subjective best, but not a objective best, and he won't get it. According to the Beis Yosef, and I don't think he's going to get it. Although he didn't speak of that case because explicitly, but because he's talking about the greater Chiddush. Normally the what's called best for the Nizak is Metaltalin. If you're looking in terms of money, you know what I mean? If you're looking in terms of Reb Papa's universe, put it that way, it's even better. If you're looking in terms of Reb Papa's universe, then the best for the Nizak is money and Metaltalin. So he has a right to do it. That's how the Levushir Shushan was talking about it. Okay, but that's bringing us all the way back into the Pesukim. You see, the Beis Yosef doesn't want to do that. The Beis Yosef would rather make a comparison that the Rush brought up, albeit not in the Zikin, and make it into the Zikin. Now, we've had this comparison before, if you look at the Gemara, carefully. When we had Rabbi Akiva, and we said, Kal v'chomer lahegdish, and we said, why? Why should we Kal v'chomer lahegdish? All the person who gave hegdish is a balchov. A balchov, he just owes money, that's all. He said, I'm going to give certain money to the Beis HaMikdash, so now he's a balchov. He owes money, that's all. So if he's only a balchov, so what did we say over there? We said, I'm sorry, just dropped it. We said, why should be a kal v'chomer? The hektish, yes, Nezikin. We want to say if Nezikin pays Meitav, then certainly Hegdish pays Meitav, right? That's what we said over there. We said no. Why certainly? Hegdish is there's nothing special in Hegdish, like holy, holy, holy. It's just you owe money. So you owe money. What does it mean? You owe money to the temple. You don't owe money. That's all. So you can't move Kal v'chomer to Hegdish. Okay. So then we said, well, maybe Rabbi Akiva holds. But that was that was saying over there that what? That Hegdish is just a Baal Chov. And what? Number one. And if it's a Baal Chov, it's less than Nezikin, because Nezikin is something more than a Baal Chov. So 1 second. There we said if, let me get this, let me spell that out. We said if Nezikin pays, we said if Nezikin pays Meitab, then certainly Hegdish should pay. So then the Gemara says it's not true, certainly Hegdish should pay, because Hegdish is less than Nezikin, because this Hegdish is just a simple Balchov, and Nezikin is more. That's right. Nezikin is greater. That's right. Nezikin is greater than Balchov. Because not only, because there if you want to talk about the philosophical issue over here, there the Nizak never willfully gave anything to the Mazik. It was ripped away from him against his will. When it came to the Balchov, so the creditor willfully gave his money to the Nizak. So the case of Mazik is much worse than the case of, much more chumrah, put it that way, than the case of a simple Balf.
So it's interesting that the Beis Yosef brings it in to strengthen the position of the Nizak. Then.
Exactly. So if the Gemara over there really presumed, but then what happened with the Gemara? The Gemara over there said it's not true that Rabbi Akiva holds like Rishon ben Manasseh, who holds that Hezek is really greater. Now, what did we do with Balchov though? But I think it admitted that. It admitted if it were true that that we were trying to learn from Balchov, we couldn't do it. It seems the Gemara over there is implying that Balchov is less than Hezek, and I just flushed out a svara. I said, because there was no ratzon on the side of the Nizak to give the property to the Mazik, where there was when it came to the Malva. So to introduce, and really that's what the Rush says. The Rush says, well, he says a little differently. He said he doesn't talk about the ratzon, that which I just brought up. He just says that the Malva has a right to get back what he gave. That's what he says. So if he gave money, he has a right to get money or anything closer to money. That's what he says. But the Nizak never gave money. So then we said maybe he did give money because he lost money. What do you mean? What's the difference? Obviously, he didn't. If the person who gave money, Baratzon, has a right to get money back, so someone whose money was stolen from him certainly should have a right to get the money back. Because we're not looking in the Nezikin in terms of the object. We're looking in the Nezikin in terms of its value. So once you translate Nezikin into value, then the value is the same. The same situation exists with Nezikin and Balchov. You just the Mazik just took away some money. That's all, and you have to return it. So this is what's going on. There's two levels of this problem. There's textual levels out there, which we're going to use as proofs for our theories, quote unquote, and then there's theoretical analysis, which is a theoretical analysis of the relationship of these two cases. Both of these things are being handled simultaneously. We're looking at the text all the time from the formal level, okay, which is where does it say something like it? But really, it belies a much deeper philosophical understanding of these two cases, and the text is going to push, or the people who are explaining the text are going to push us one way or the other. But they're very well aware of this. But anyway, you're still there, right? Hello?
Yes, I am.
Oh, good. No, I just thought.
Yeah.
No, I thought that the web went out again. Okay. Now let's.
No.
You see, let's push a little further into the text. Okay. Now here I'll show you something that I did, in preparation. Okay, just to show you where we're going, because I worked on it, so I liked it. We have the tour, and we have the Beis Yosef. Okay, now we have this battle now going on between the Bach and the Ir HaShushan. Okay, and the Sma in the Shulchan Aruch is also going to chime in. I don't think we're going to do the Sma now, but the two reds are the people who are going to join up and attack the Beis Yosef. For all these reasons we said, the Rush minimized the Chiddush of any rights of the Nizak to the case of to the collector, put it that way, to the case of the Baal Chov, of the creditor, and that's basically what they're going to be saying. Like the Bach, he says if you look at the Rush who follows Rev Fas, so you see that the Rush made everything equal, and he wants to put the Torah in the same position, and he also brings the Rav HaMagid, which we didn't look at inside, but he says the Rav HaMagid, who's a parish on the Rambam, also understands the Rambam that way. Okay, i.e. that the Mazik has all the power, and we're just talking about the Chiddush that the Nizak has none. Really, the Mazik can give metaltalin, and that's called great, unlike any other shita in the Gemara. Now, the Ur Shushan, which we just mentioned briefly, is going to defend the Beis Yosef. He's going to not defend him. He's going to the Beis Yosef interpretation of the Torah, and say what we just said, that the for lack of a better word, the spirit of the law of giving meitav is to give the best to the aggrieved party here, which is the Nizak. So the Torah itself is going out of its way to say, look, you destroyed something without the ratzon of the Nizak. Now you have to give what he wants, okay, and be the best to him. So that's that. Now, we are now, in a short time, we're going to look at the Shach. The Shach is a powerhouse. He is going to destroy both the Bach and the Sma. And this Rav HaMagi proof, he's going to switch the Rav HaMagi proof around. And so the Shach is going to take the opponents of the Beis Yosef and bring proof that they're wrong, Pashut, and that the Beis Yosef is correct as an interpretation of the Torah. That's where we're going now. Okay? So if you think it got deep, it's the beginning. Up to what was there, around 1600?
I guess he's going to show that. Yeah, is the Shach going to show that the Beis Yosef and the Shulchan Aruch are basically the same opinion?
Yeah, exactly. Because the Shach is on the Shulchan Aruch. Yes. He's going to say the Shulchan Aruch continued his opinion of the Beit Yosef and is only bringing down that halacha. Okay, that's what he's going to do, and very powerfully. I mean, when you see
yeah,
go ahead. Sorry.
That the two of them, just to ask explicitly, and that the two of them are discussing the same case. We said last time that there are two different cases, possibly the one of the Shulchan Aruch and the one of the Beis Yosef. So I guess the Shach is going to go against that idea and say,
yes,
these two they were discussing the same case, actually.
Exactly. Then as we go down the line, of course, there's going to be, what can I say, people going to remove the Shach. That will be our next level, okay? Because that's what's at stake here. If you want to be a player, so to speak, in the game, then you have to know the pieces, and you have to know who's doing what. So you're either going to defend the Beis Yosef, reinterpret the Beis Yosef, or attack the Beis Yosef. Those are your three. Those are your three positions. Okay, and then that'll have of course, ramification to the Torah. Okay, but that's where we're going. Okay, so let's get a little textual here. Okay, let's see. I think we finished in the Meforshe Torah. That means that's the Beis Yosef, the Bach. We did the Drisha, who lines up with the Bach, and the Levush Ir Shushan, which defends the Beis Yosef and the Torah, which the Meitav Svara that we just said. Let's now go investigate it a little bit. We'll start, which is the Shulchan Aruch itself. Okay. Now this is one case. Do you know how many thousands and thousands of cases there are out there that these people have on their heads? It's just the mass of information is unbelievable. Just the mass of information. They're juggling pieces and seeing the interaction of the web, which is not only a two-dimensional web, but it's a three-dimensional web, and doing all that in their head. So, kol hakavod. I wish I could do it, but at least we can enjoy reading it. And everything else, it always comes down to 2 and 2 is 4. So I always tell people, as complicated as anything we'll get, they're all making sense. So you just have to understand what they're saying. That's all. So it may take you time, and maybe you can't create what they did. Maybe you don't have that mind, the vast, knowledge and resources, but you can definitely understand what they say, and you can see what's at stake. And even add a little thing here and there in between the molecules, or the atoms, as Rabbi Goldstein would say. Okay? Our first job is to understand what's being done, because we want to learn Torah. I mean, we don't want to just have time. And like people read the Chumash and they think they know what's going on. We actually want to understand what Hashem is saying. To do that, this is the process. You just can't get away from it. It's the Torah, Kodesh Baruch, it's his thought. His thought can't be, to kids, simple things. But on the other hand, simple people can understand that, which is quite remarkable. Okay, let's get to the Shulchan Aruch here. Okay, again, I just did that when I did the research. Just all the people are from Poland. I mean, wow, because all the Jews were, I had a good time there for a long time, and there were great communities there. After the downfall of the Babylonian schools, I think the Zoroastrians were the ones that did it. I'm not sure, but the center of Judaism, as we said, really moved to Central Europe, and there they unfortunately bounced back from France to Germany, and then they moved more to the east of Poland, and they were there for many good centuries. And unfortunately, history is what the history was, but that was it. Anyway, all these commentaries on the Shulchan Aruch, again, are going to be from Poland, and we're going to talk about 3 of them. Okay, the Rebbe Shua folk, the Sma is really the Drisha, is really the Drisha that we spoke about. He's going to be an opponent of the Beis Yosef, and then there's going to be the Shach, who's going to now take on everybody that disagreed with the Beis Yosef, and with many fine swings of his sword will demolish all the opposition. Okay, so let's let you see that a little. Okay, so here's the Shulchan Aruch, first of all, and the Shulchan Aruch says, almost word by word, what the Rambam says. That's what we did. We did this last time, didn't we? I think we did. The Rambam says, okay, he says, "Keshabeistin niskaken ligvos hanezek minikasei mazik." So go and metatlan im lo hay lo metatlan kal or shelo hay metatlan connected kol hanezek. So then go and asham min hakarka min hayafi shema mazik. Those man shematze metatlan fil subin. And that's word for word we said what the Shulchan Aruch said, except a few little grammatical things. But if you look here, it's almost exactly the same. So it looks like the Shulchan Aruch, when it came to Paskening himself, went right with the Rambam. Okay. Now, when we read the Sma, do we do the Sma? I forgot now where we're holding. Okay, we'll read him.
I think we did. But
I think we finished the Sma. I think we finished him, but we'll just do a quick. Nothing's quick. We'll just do a little review here. The Sma wants to disagree with, that's a Sefer Meir Sinai. He wants to disagree with the Shulchan Aruch. And he wants to say that the yad of the mazik is alyona, which means the mazik can decide. So he says, he brings the Drisha himself, I believe. Yeah. Oops, where's my argument flow here. Yeah. The Sma and the Drisha are the same person, just that he calls himself the Drisha on the Tur, and he calls himself Sefer Meir Sinayim on the Shulchan Aruch, but they're the same person. So he says, look what I said on the Tur, and I'm the same thing here. He's going to do that, okay? So let's see what he does here. He says, look at the Drisha. There, I should have said the word katafti. Katafti lashon haGemara v'hachachti mimenu da'af. Even though in the case of Lova, the Yad HaMalva is on the Elyona, im yesh Lova kesef u'metalvim tzarich l'shalom mimenu, and not karka. V'lav kol kamine l'shalom mikarka filut me'idis, and the Lova cannot at all pay back with idis. That is only in Malva. Why? Because the Malva gave him money. Okay. So he says, and because of this, that's why the Malva has a right to Malvin Metaltlin. Why? Because they're close to money, because they can be sold very quickly. Even if not here, then somewhere else. Now, aval the nizak yad aval bin has nothing to do with it, nothing to do with the case of Malva whatsoever. It's a special din, a new category that the Torah defined and gave all the power to the Masik. Okay, and as we spoke very nicely, we have to amplify that fact, why these two cases are different. Okay, but here in the case of Nezikin, he says not that the Nizak has any preference like the Sma was saying and all those Sforas were saying. He says, no, the Torah gave the Mazik all the rights. Now, we could say just outside, I was just thinking right now, in the sense the Mazik got nothing. We keep looking at the Nizak, right, that something was taken away from him against his will, right? And therefore he's a poor Nizak, and we have to, give him anything he wants to get his property back because he's the aggrieved party. But the Mazik, on the other hand, can claim, look, I got nothing out of this. Did I get any benefit out of this? Did I gain anything? You could say the person who is borrowing the money, the Mal, just one second. Yes, the Mazik says, what did I get out of this? It was an accident, and I have to pay you back because the Torah demands I pay you back. Okay, but I didn't gain anything from it. Okay. The Lova did gain something from it. The Lova gained, paying his bills for a while. That's a very nice gain. He did get money, and but the Mazik here claims, what did I get? Nothing. So maybe because of that, the Torah said we have to be very nice to this Mazik, because really it was an accident. He didn't. Maybe he punched the other guy in the nose. That'd be a problematic case. But his animal walked in another field. It was negligence on his part, not watching it. But still, it wasn't a totally purposeful act. He took something away, and then we have to talk about Geneva in a minute also. Okay, whatever. Anyway, all I'm trying was to give a svara why the Mazik's hand should be Alad Yonah. Okay, why should the Mazik decide what to give back? And is that called an advantage or not? These are some of the things we're talking about. But anyway, the Sma says that the Mazik has all the cards in his hand. Even if he has Kesef, he can give him a Tatlin. And that's simply how we understood Reb Papa in the Gemara, and he brings down the Gemara that the Tatlin is a fine payment. There's nothing wrong with giving it. Okay. Now look what he says here. This was the Gevalt. He takes the Mechaber, and he says, something? What Mechaber said in the Beis Yosef on the Tur is not his real position. When he came to the Shulchan Aruch, he quotes the Rambam, and he really holds lahalacha like I just said. Can you believe he did such a thing? He hijacks the Shulchan Aruch, and he says the Shulchan Aruch is also saying it. Okay? Which is gewaltig. And how does he do it? Umasha ketuv go tatlin techila, haine mishum de stama nicha lamazik l'shalem, b'metaltalin, mi bekarka, shehu ben kama. He says, why did the Shulchan Aruch now talk about the case of collect from metaltalin over karka? Because normally, if you look at a mazik, he would rather give his metaltalin away than his karka. And he says it's sorry because karka is called kayama. That's why it's called real estate. How come it's real estate and everything else is, and what about all the money in the bank and his subin and everything else is not called real estate? Well, one reason is because it's there all the time. You can't steal it. You can't lose it. It's about the most muchash, the most real thing that you can think about is land. Okay, but money and movables are, here they gone tomorrow. They're very mobile. So he says he makes a statement that the mazik would always rather keep his karka, a little like you were saying in the beginning, than the metaltalin. And because of that, and look what he says, mishum hachi kamasha based in niskaken. Based in niskaken, mishalmin me'ataltalin. When the based, now here's the chap. Remember we said that the Torah didn't talk about the based in. He didn't say kasha based in niskaken. You said when you have to collect for damage, you collect from the metaltalin first. The Rambam and the Shulchan Aruch that quotes him talks about when the base, all of a sudden the word bastin comes in. So he makes a big thing of that. He says kasha bastin, when the bastin has to come in, right? Kasha bastin niskaken mishalem me'ataltalin. So there always take the metaltalin first. Now look what he says. Lamadnu. Da'afim ein hamazik lifneinu, dato l'sham bi metaltalin. Even the mazik is not here, we presume the bastin that the mazik would always rather give away his metaltalin than his land. So amrinan mistama nichla mazik l'shalom bi metaltalin. Va'af im hanizak tzoek, and even if the nizak yells and screams that he wants to be paid in karka, kamash musakro meitav sedehu, ain based in shomen lo. So it looks like the simple reading of the text is that the mazik is not around. And that's the case that he wants to say that the Shulchan Aruch is talking about. Because why is the basin all of a sudden collecting the money? You'll say, of course, because they said to the basin, what do we do? He said, no, that's not the word niskaken. Here that means that they're obligated to be involved. Why are they obligated to be involved? Because the mazik's not around. When the mazik's not around, there's a special chiddush that you presume that this mazik who's not around would rather give his movables than his land. And therefore you collect the movables first. So it's called a din and based din. It has nothing to do here with the fight between the rights of the mazik and the nizak. They're not here. I mean, the nizak is here, but the mazik is somehow gone to America for a visit or something. I don't know where he went. He's not around somehow. And the nizak needs his money back because the poor cow, was destroyed and you have to pay him back. So the nizak, he wants land. And Basin has to decide, do we give him land or not? But if the mazik was here, what would be the law? He can give him what he wants. You hear this? That's what he says. It looks like to a simple guy like me that he just hijacked the mechaber and turned them into and turned them into the rush. But he did it through the lashon of the Rambam. Yeah, go ahead.
Right. Well, he did it by I guess implicitly making a distinction between this and the Beis Yosef. Saying that even though the Beis Yosef would not have said this, but the Mechaber, since he's following the Rambam, he's pushing the power of the Mazik, and so he can get away with making this claim.
Right, but to do it, he has to get rid of the Mazik. He's got to get rid of the Mazik from the story. That's how he's got to do it.
Oh, to put him in absentia. You mean in the
That's
court?
right. He has to put him in absentia. Somewhere he took a trip.
Yeah.
He went to see his wife. I
Right.
don't know what he did, but he's not around.
Right.
Now the Beis Din has to pay this
Right.
poor Nizak back. I mean, was he here for trial? You can't try someone without the mazik around. So it must have been he was here for the trial, and they pasak that the mazik must pay, and he agreed. And all of a sudden, he got called out for an emergency. He had to go to the hospital, some foreign country. We can't find him. Well, that's why I say the word hijack, because that's the case that the Shulchan Aruch is talking about. A heshi temsa, that means an unusual situation where well, why do you think he used the word kesha based in niskaken?
Right.
Why did he change the language to the language of the Rambam? Why does the Beis Din have to do anything here? The Beis Din is not obligated to do anything here. The Beis Din is just telling what the law is.
And by it's a great move, because by first considering what happens in absentia, then when the mazik actually comes back into court, and he comes back with guns ablazing. I mean, he's got a lot more power
when he's here. When he's here, he'll tell us what he wants. He can give land, he can give money, he's gewaltig.
Yeah.
No, it's a gewaltig move. I mean, this is like, wow. But that's what he did. I mean, that's what he did. So he moved the Mechaber, which is Joseph Cairo, into the camp of Reb Papa. He also took the Rambam and he dragged him into the camp of Reb Papa by saying, this is an unusual case here, where the Beis Din is niskak defir. Now, I keep saying, I thought the Shulchan Aruch was like a Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, you know what I mean? Just, you look up the laws, like you keep saying, why can't they write down all the billions of laws in a nice book, and then we'll do a search with Google and we'll find the law, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? But they don't write that way. They write the biggest chiddush, and then you're supposed to interpolate all those implicit laws from the law that they did write. Okay, and even the Rambam. I mean, this is what's happening. They're not going to be fools and write down every case in the world, because they can't. I mean, I told you, there wouldn't be a library big enough. There's too much. This is only one little pasuk we're talking about, one little problem we're talking about. Imagine 613 mitzvahs. What's going on there? You know what I mean? There's no way you can write down all the books. And also, it's not right, because in communication, if you write down too much, the Chachamim always say, wait a minute, there's an extra word here. What does it mean? Like here with this word nisfak. But anyway, this is what the Smad did. Okay? And he says, "V'lo dami l'malva umitam shekatavni," and of course it's not comparable at all. The case of Nezik and Tamal and Lova. That was just to explain the Torah over there, but the Beis Yosef, when it came to write the Shulchan Aruch, wrote the halacha as it should be, not what the Torah did in his special move by introducing Malva into the situation. And he says, this that's in the Shulchan Aruch is not like the Beis Yosef, okay, obviously. And also it's not like the Ir Shushan that we read, who is up with the Beis Yosef, that follows after the Beis Yosef. The E-boy Nizak Metalton Sarach Mazik Liten Lo. No, we don't hold that. Aval Ani Chachti over there, that according to my opinion, Lo Alta Al Das HaTor Kain. The Torah never even thought about what the Beit Yosef said. That's not that. Remember, we switched the case over there. Not that he was missing, but that there was a taina of the mazik of the knees. He held that the mazik wanted to give karka, and the nizak was yelling, "Give me! I want metalphone." And excuse me, that's not true. The mazik wants to give metaltalin, the nizak wants to give metav karka, and we followed what the mazik said, even though the nizak is screaming, "I want I'm one karka, karka says meitav. That's how he learned over there. That's how he says it's the Maskana in the tour, and that has nothing to do with the Beis Yosef. The Beis Yosef was, just off the track completely over there explaining the tour. But he did tshuva when he had to write his own Shulchan Aruch. To explain the Torah, but he realized the Torah was unattainable. It goes against the rush. So when he came to his own, how come he used this language? Well, because he wrote the language of the Rambam, something, and the Rambam and him both agree that we're talking about a case where the mazik's not around. So, of course, this, you can now begin to see the places where the Shach is going to sink his claws into the Sma. Okay? So, because whenever you make an akimta, it could be true. Akimta means you say it's talking about a certain case. You're always on, it's called a perish dochak. You're always pushing the text. So whenever you push the text, you lose so much. Now he holds he has to do it because it doesn't make sense any other way. Okay, so we have a few more minutes. Now we're ready for the big guns. Oh boy! Now the shach is very, very powerful. The shach is filled. We're going to see, like a gaon. I mean, people. I told you that have such conscious level of all of Shas and see the dynamic interrelationships and bring them to you. It's when you see people like this, it's like it's overwhelming. I mean, but that's it. That's what he does, and yet he's going to be also there's other people in the in every generation you have these super geniuses and they also have good mitos and Yiras Hashem. But so he's going to be the main focus of the later generations, because they're going to try to remove his defense of the Beis Yosef and go back to classical sun on the earth. Rapapa means that you give everyone equally, and there's none of this business where there's any preference anywhere of metaltalin over meitav. Okay, so let's start reading him a little. Okay, we'll see how far we get. Okay, we got to keep. There's a lot of stuff here. I wrote the whole thing, but slowly we understand the system. Good. So let's start. Let's read a little here. And how much time do you have, by the way?
No, I have time.
Okay, good. So we can continue.
Yeah, 'cause I want to get into this. Yeah.
Very good. So let's.
Okay. Should I start? Yeah.
Yes, and now the Shach is on the Shulchan Aruch, and the Divrei Maskil is Govin Mei HaMetaltalin Techila, right? So just look at the language. I should split the screen, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, we know. He says, the quotes the Rambam.
It's okay, yeah, that's what also the Sma quoted. That is
exactly, everyone.
That's the same line that the Sma began by.
Exactly, because this is the big problem here. Yeah. If you have to identify the problem is why is there a preference of metaltalin over karka? If anything, karka should have a better preference over metaltalin, like Rav Huna, or they should be equal. To give a preference is a flag, and you must explain it. There's no way out. It's an anomaly. We never saw such a thing, so you have to explain it. Good. That's where we're holding. So that's what we're talking about. Okay, Katav Hasma. Go ahead.
Dehainu mishum demistama nicha lamazik l'shalom betaltalin mibekarkaos. So
the Sma, which you just read.
Yeah, the Sma. So the Sma's position is because it appears that it's more convenient for the damager to pay back with movables rather than with land. V'lamadnu de'af im ein hamazik lefaneinu goyim lo mimetaltalin. And we learned that even if the mazik is not in front of us, in other words, not in the court, then we take from his metaltalin, not from his land.
He shows up.
Right. So if for sure, if the mazik shows up and reveals what he wants, his preference, and that so that his preference is metaltalin. No.
That he himself wants the metaltalin. You have to be careful here, right? If
right. He prefers to hold on to the metaltalin.
and therefore to give the karka, exactly.
Right, and he
Yeah.
would prefer to pay with karka. V'hanizak rotze davka metaltalin, and it's the nizak now who really would like to be paid with metaltalin. Yad hamazik al ha'elyona v'lo dame lemal veloive. So the power lies in the hands of the mazik, and the situation is not like that of loans, which the Beis Yosef brings in. And this is a quote from the Sma.
This is exactly what we just learned in the Sma.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Sma learns from Aruch, who quoted the Rambam, that we're talking about a case where the mazik's not around. And the Beis Din has to now decide what to give to the Nizak. So it tries to figure out what the mazik would have given. And normally normal people, quote unquote, normal people would rather hold on to their karka. So we say, well, he's not around. What should we do? Well, most people like to hold on to their land, so we have to give metaltalin first. But of course, if he showed up, he could give karka, and the nizak has nothing to do with anything, and the mazik has all the cards. That's what we just read in the Sma. And the continuation of the Sma, point 2 I wrote here. Below.
This is still a quotation of the Sma.
Yeah.
Below Beis Yosef. This is not like the opinion of the Beis Yosef.
Says the Sma, of course.
Says the Sma, right? Shushan nimshach acharav shekasav zechron levracha. And the Ir Shushan, which follows the Beis Yosef.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not, this opinion of the Shulchan Aruch is not like Beis Yosef or the Ir Shushan,
right,
which follows the Beis Yosef. The E by Hanizak metaltalin, that if the Nizak by what does that mean? I mean he wants.
Yes, if he wants metaltalin.
So if the Nizak wants metaltalin, tzarech hamazik liten lo.
Right, that's the position of the Beis Yosef and the Ir Shushan, and what I say is flies in their face. Right?
What the Sma says.
What the Sma says, no, it's what the Sma. The Sma says the Shulchan Aruch is not paskning like his parish on the tour. Forget about it. And the Shushan, the Ir Shushan, who followed the tour explanation, is just wrong.
Right.
Because
right.
Yeah.
Yosef's reading the Torah. Yeah.
Now I don't know what he held in the Torah, but here the situation is, I said, Shulchan Aruch is clear to him. We're not. This is the Rambam. The Rambam's talking about a different case altogether. The mazik's not around. They're just trying to tell us that the Beis Din now has to presume mazik would have wanted. And so we say, as far as a presumption is concerned, you see, because the mazik has 3 choices. So if we had to guess what he would give, we'd say he'd probably like to hold on to his land and give us metaltalin. Okay? A little like he was saying in the beginning, a little bit. Like he was saying, we're trying to protect the land. But no, he's getting the mazik out of here, and then the Beis Din just has to put together in their heads what the mazik would have been if he was here. But if he showed up, he can do what he wants. He can hold on to his land more than or hold on to his metaltalin. Now, comes along the Shach and throws down the gauntlet.
Right. Ve'ein dvarav nechonim.
Couldn't be clearer.
So he's not pulling any punches.
Right.
Right. The pshita, the das, Rambam, the mechaber ke ha'ir shushan. It's the simple meaning of the Rambam and of the mechaber is like the ir shushan, which is following the Beis Yosef. The chen das Tur, and even the Tur, they're all in agreement.
Right.
The Shar Poskim and everybody else as well. He's got everybody.
Who's left?
Sma is all alone here. He's putting only the Sma.
He says, you're out there in the desert, my friend.
V'chein ikar v'chemo she'evar. And the root of the matter is how
and this is
I will explain it.
Yeah, no, he says this is the ikar, this is the essential explanation of the Tur and the Shulchan Aruch and the Rambam and everybody. And I'm going to explain to you exactly why this is true. So don't worry. I'm going to have a whole little piece, and I'm going to show you exactly why they're all correct, and you're in another world. You're like the mazik and not around here. A direct attack. Okay? Now he says, v'chein. And if you don't like my explanation, Nemuki Yosef. Nemuke Yosef.
So he finds this in Nemuke Yosef as well. Reish Pera Kamuchar Peros She. No, it's not.
Shekatav Lahed, yeah?
It's obviously it's a chapter.
Yeah, it's called Perach HaMocher and Baba Basra, Mocher Peros. That was this whole business. We'll look at it, Bezat Hashem. We have to look again. You see, he sees everything, so he's not myopic. We only see what's in front of us, but he sees everything. So he says, look, you look at the Nemuch Yosef in Baba Basra. You don't have to stay on this page your whole life. So you'll see what he says there clearly. What does he say? Shemedivrei
Harambam. Harambam Nira ben Ezekin. So we see from the words of the Rambam on Ezekin, Isle karka metaltalin, that if he has karka, he has land and metaltalin, kfinan le litin lo metaltalin ve ein sham. They force him, the court forces him to give metaltalin, and we should look there.
Right.
Because that's the lashon of the Rambam. He wants to stress that the Rambam is saying that.
Now this is you have to be careful.
The court that forces.
Yes, but the first point here is you have to know this is a quote from the Nemuki Yosef. The Nemuki Yosef is a parish on the Rif, okay? But the Nemuki Yosef, when he explains the Rambam, explains him in the Pashtus. There's no Nizak that went for vacation here. There's no Mazik went for vacation. He explains the Rambam in its most simple way, that if the mazik has kark and metaltalin, kafinan, that's a strong word. Who's kafinan? We, the Beis Din, force him to give metaltalin. Yes. So now remember I said to you we were playing around here, so to speak, with the he said that mazik wasn't around. Before that we said that the mazik wants to give karka, and the nisak wants metaltalin, and the mazik wants to give metaltalin. There was a problem with the claims in court. Now, according to the Nemuki Yosef, he says, forget about it, gentlemen. The Rambam holds that the mazik must give metaltalin before karka. Don't run away from it. Don't try to say, well, where do we see that? That's the position of the Rambam. Now, you want to know where he got it from? It's a good question, but at least in I don't think he's going to answer it here. But he does have an explicit quote of Nemuki Yosef saying that the Rambam must be read literally. Now he's going to explain the Rambam, believe me, in his own words, because Nemuki Yosef doesn't. He just says what the Rambam holds. But there's none of this stuff of the different tainas, none of the stuff the mazik's not around. Let's get straight. What he means, what he said, what he says, what he means. Now here the Shach continues. Vahachi. He says not only did the Nemuki Yosef say it, but
V'hachi mashma vaday pshat divrei Rambam, and this is in fact the pshat. This is the
simple meaning of the Rambam. What do you have to stories, right? Shekatav. I'll make this a little hard, so maybe you'll have to catch up on the screen. Move. Shekatav.
Shekatav.
Shebeistin. Shebeistin.
Oh,
Keshebeistin.
Shebeistin.
Keshebeistin.
Yeah, Keshe. This is the Rambam's language, right?
Exactly. This is a quote of the Rambam's language. Keshebeistin iskaken government tatel nechila. That's a quote. So says the Shach. That's a quote from the Rambam. Mashma.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Mashma de ila de veidina
The
ramia
aleha.
lagos techila
The haleya, the beidina, ramia,
Right? What's
ligvos,
that?
the aleha. It is upon the beidina, the
The alea.
beistin. The aleya, the beistinya, romia,
The alea de veidina.
on the beistin is thrown.
What's ramia? It's not rakam.
Yeah, rum used to throw. Rum used to throw one
Ramia.
plus against
Okay.
another. Okay. On the basin is thrown. It is thrown on the basin. Ligvos techila miamataltalin. You know, that's the observation. What does it mean? Kesha based in niskakin. You know what I mean? It means the power of the basin is that it must collect from Taltlin first. So he is. This is the shach. The shach is very powerful. He says what it means is what it says, gentlemen. The law is the three judges sitting on the panel say, we are going to collect, now that we've paskin that you lost, you are really a mazik, we are now going to go and take your metaltalin from you and give it to the nizak. That's it. And we won't touch your karka. But it has nothing to do with claims. This one wants karka, this one wants that. There's nothing to do with it. It's a simple law in Beis Din that you always take from the taltalin before karka. That's the law. And he says it clearly. Look at in the red here, continuation of the shach.
Yeah. V'hadin kach hu ve'enu talui b'ratzon. Nice. So enu talui b'ratzon amazik on nizak. I like that. That's nice because he's saying the whole. I mean, he's eliminating the whole gavra issue. With that
Exactly.
By saying that the ratzon is. It's not a question of ratzon altogether.
We tell you what you can give. Halacha. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, what do we care? You like tefillin, you don't like tefillin, you put on tefillin, that's it. You know what I mean? What do you care? You want karka, you don't want karka, whatever, do with anything. We tell you what to do here, not you. You're just little litigants around here. What do you have to do?
It's actually, you know what's nice about this is actually it even eliminates the power of the Bezdin.
Yeah, exactly.
The Bezdin the Bezdin is forced. They're nizkakin.
Right. They're just doing the Torah. In other words, Hashem is exactly. Hashem told them what to do. They're administrators. They don't make the law. God makes the law.
Yeah.
They're just forced to do what the Torah says, and the Torah tells them, you got to give them a taltlin first. Now, this is what I call being a gever. You know what I mean? This is a man. No, because everybody, you have to understand, why did everyone run away from saying this?
Yeah.
Because we don't have a source for this. It's true that that's simply what the Rambam says, but we never heard of it before. So he jumps in and he said, "You guys are drinking cocktails or something. You're not in this world." You know what I mean? The Rambam said clearly what it is. Now you have a problem of why he said it. Now I'll tell you why he said it. I'll prove to you. I know exactly why he said it. You guys don't know how to learn. What can I tell you? You're simplistic. You look, two little cases, and you think you understand what's going on in this matrix called, Torah. Okay, so
this is my. I mean, I'm glad we came to this because this was in a way what I was trying to say about the Beis Yosef making explicit an issue which was implicit all along. In other words, that he was the first one to formulate things in terms of Ratzon Hamazik or Nizak,
right,
and it started the whole fight.
Exactly.
So he, as you're saying, he's the gever here, who says, who gave you the right to, to take it in that direction? It has nothing to do with the Ratzon altogether.
Right. At least the Shulchan Aruch. I mean.
Yeah.
But anyway, he's going to claim that what he claimed everybody really is holding this. He says the tour. Okay. Anyway, this is the Brex of Champions because everybody shied away from.
I wonder though. I don't know where he's going, but it'd be interesting to see what he does with the Beis Yosef. I could understand him putting the Mechaber into this way of looking at things because the Mechaber sticks so closely to the Lashon of the Rambam,
right,
which does not problematize the issue of Ratzon. But where's he going to put the Beis Yosef? Because that's where the problem of Ratzon comes in, right? But when he compares it to the Bachel.
But it's very hard because he said this idea. He says the words of the Sma are wrong. That the Rambam, the Mechaber, is like the Ir Shushan. Now we looked at the Ir Shushan there, and he was the whole one that started talking about the Pesukim and Meitav, and so it's not to tell you the truth here. It's not so clear, and he puts everybody together in one big package: the Tur, all the Meforshim, right? So it's not clear. If he wouldn't have said Rambam over here, but everyone, and yet he's not saying what they're saying. That's what bothers me. You know what I mean? The Beis Yosef, well, he doesn't quote the Beis Yosef. Maybe that's the point. You have to read him carefully. He puts the Rambam, the Mechaber, like the Ir Shushan, and the Tur. Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't.
But he doesn't quote the Beis Yosef.
Conspicuously missing.
Exactly, because the Beis Yosef is only trying to explain the Tur, but he doesn't hold that. He holds like the Rambam, and the Rambam's talking about the obligations of the Beis Din, what the Din Torah is. What the Torah is talking about, says the Beis Yosef, is only the powers of the Nizak over the Mazik. Now, why he had to say that when he had the Rambam, I don't know. And maybe it's because the Rambam says clearly, Kesha Beis Din Niskakin, and remember the Torah never mentioned those words. Right? The Torah just said when you have to go from the Nizak. He didn't say anything about Beis Din. So maybe there's a little place where but we don't know yet. I mean, we have to, we're just going to become enlightened by these, giants. But, anyway, we're getting close here. But what's nice is that the Shach, without any fear, goes to a place where everybody was feared to tread, to read the Rambam literally. The Beis Din has its obligation to collect. There's no mazik not around. That's the law. They're just doing what the Torah says. Now, it's mashma because the Rambam said, Kesha Beis Din niskaken. Ligvot mitalton techil. It's the Beis Din. Mashma, that the Beis Din has an obligation to collect from mitalton first. And the Din, from Dinei Torah, and it's not Torah and Ratzon the Mazik and the Nizak. Okay? Now, he's going to bring another proof of the Rambam. The Rambam holds this. Va'od.
Va'od, shekasov sham harambam, achar kach, t'medin hashas.
Interesting,
What
Lashon.
does that mean?
As far
as that the Rambam wrote afterwards?
No, he writes another halacha that says, according what the Shas learns, Midin Hashas, I don't know exactly what, that's a key word. I mean, maybe because does it mean that the Shas is doing it because of the economy of the Rabbanan, or the Shas learned the Pesukim that way? I don't know exactly. Okay? But the Rambam does say the following, the law, that's definitely true. Let's read it. In Mace.
In Mace, v'haniach metalton the karka, if he dies,
At the mazik. The mazik.
Right, okay, so if the mazik dies, and what does that mean, v'haniach?
He leaves over. That's the way to say it. Haniach means he leaves over.
So he leaves behind, right? So
he leaves behind
land, and he leaves behind movables and land. Goven me hayitoimin bekarka osav. They take from, what's Yitom? Yitomim is twins.
No, that's Tumim. This is Yitom. A Yitom is a orphan.
Yitom, What does that mean? From the...
You collect...
the abandoned, I guess, from what he's left over, the orphaned land.
No. The poor mazik has died. He's left orphans, right? Or children who are bereaved, right? They're the Yitomim. Literally orphans, right? Now the orphans have to pay back the debt that that the father had, right? It doesn't just disappear. It was a based in, and he was obligated besak. So it's like again a chov, an obligation that the father had. They have to pay back those debts. So he says if the orphans have land and property that they inherited from the father, they have to give the karka to the mazik. Strange din. That's what he says. Now karka has, this is the opposite of what we're learning.
This is another halacha?
Another halacha completely. The Rambam, we should read it.
With Nezikin or with what?
Yeah, Nezikin. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's Nezikin. I should have maybe brought the whole text of the Rambam.
Why? But why would the Rambam say karka there? What's the...
Exactly. Another revolutionary statement. The Rambam's filled with these, exciting ways to teach us Torah. I mean, he said you just need the Chumash and him, and that's it. But he's a very exciting man, the Rambam. Yeah, that's what he says. But he's always, between you and me, very well based in the Gemara. He knows exactly what's going on. The problem is we don't know what's going on, but he does. And the other problem is he didn't tell the simple people like us what's going on because he figured it ain't going to help. There's too many peanut minds around. They just don't understand how to learn. What am I going to do? I spend years and years trying to explain, write books, the whole library of books. Just follow what I say and shut up. No, he says people don't know how to learn anymore. That's what he says. What can you do? So, Chabad, learn the Rambam, and that's it. Shulchan Aruch. That's it. Keep it simple, because you ain't going to really get it anyway. So, anyway, Beseda. Okay, says V'od Kasav Sham HaRambam Acharkach, that according to the Shas, im meis, that's the mazik, v'haniach metaltalin v'karka, then you're govin for the Yisomim mikarka, v'chein hu b'tur. The Torah says the same din. If the mazik dies, he leaves over land and movables, collect from the land first. That's what he says.
The Torah says this also.
The Torah also brings the same halacha.
I see.
Now comes the Shach, and he wants to show you what the Rambam's din is. But this is counterintuitive because you think the opposite is going on here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Well, how's this going to prove you give him talmud first? Let's see.
Ve'im ita de mistama nicha le lemazik tfeilit and metaltalin. And if, I guess ita as you say, or what is that?
If it was brought, I mean, it means
if it is, right?
If it is, if it's really true, I would translate. If it is the case, very good.
So if it is the case that, and this is a quote from. We just had this.
No, it's not a quote. It's just I just emphasized it. Yeah, because who is it quote from? From the Sma.
Right. The Stam. Right.
That Mistama, he says, when here's another case where the Mazik's not around. Right now, we figured out why he's not around. He didn't go to New York. He went to Lamabad. He went to Lamabad.
He's saying the Sma is saying this?
No, I'm saying it. We couldn't figure out why the Mazik's not around, right? He had a special errand to do. Well, this is one way he could not be around. Doesn't mean it's the only way, but it's a very nice way that he's not around, and that's why the base has to get him out. But if it's true, he says that mistama nichale lemazik tfei liten metaltalin. If that's what you told me, the Mazik's not around, right? Okay, let's say he went to California. So now we have to pay back the poor Nisak. We say, well, what would the Mazik want to do? Give him a taltalin. So comes along the Sma says, wait a minute. If that's true, then keep reading.
He's paraphrasing the Sma now?
No. He's knocking out the Sma. The Sma said that this is a case when the Mazik's not around. We, the Beis Din, have to presume what's in the Mazik's head, and most people would rather hold on to their karka. That's what he's saying. That's what the Sma said. So we do what most people do. That's what what are you going to do? We're the Beis Din. He's not around. How do you handle life? You go according to the majority. Majority of people would not like to give up the land, so we wouldn't do too. So the Shach says, wait a minute, Sma. If it's true that that people like to hold on to the land and would rather give away their metaltalin. So let's keep reading. Niton lay, niton, let's claim. In other words, the Beis Din has, the Beis Din should claim liatome for the Yisomim.
So they should make a claim from the metaltalin.
Yeah, they should say, let's see if you catch this point here. Yeah.
So how do we
make less?
Why
should we make less the power? Goreya means to make less.
No.
Why should we weaken the power of the Yisomim over the Mazik himself? If you're telling me if the Mazik was alive, he would prefer to give metalton over karka. Now that he's dead and the Yisomim are in the place of the Mazik, how could we not do what the Mazik himself would have done? The Yisomim are just receiving the power from the Father. The Father, according to you, would have given metaltalin and kept his karka. So we should claim, we should say that the Yisomim have the same rights of the Father, because the Father's not around, and he's dead. And we should therefore claim that the Yisomim should get karka, not metaltalin, not karka. Yet we see the opposite is true in both the Rambam and the Torah. We see that we give the karka and not the metaltalin.
He's saying this. I mean, this is great, but this is a great proof for, again, that there's no Ratzon issue here. That if indeed Ratzon was an issue, then we would surely consider that the Ratzon of the Yitzanim. We'd say this is what they would like. But obviously we're going flatly against their will, and we're taking away karka, which proves that there's no question of Ratzon. In that case, in the case of Yitomin, what we're giving with karka, and therefore throwing it back on this case, we're saying also there's no issue of Ratzon. We are giving. That's what he's trying to prove here. He's trying to prove that it's all objectively. That it's all about an objective halacha, which has nothing to do with the will of anybody.
Yes.
Right?
Okay. Yes, 100%. That's exactly what he's trying to prove. He's trying, this whole idea that it's about the Ratzon of the Nizak and come on. If it's because let me just add one little halachic aspect. The Yisomim are going to be taking over they stand in the shoes of the deceased. You know what I mean? Any power that the deceased have, they have. It's just moved over to them. That's called an inheritance. What the power to own the piece of land of the father moves to them. Now they own the piece of land. They just step into the shoes of the father, who's not here anymore. So since they're stepping into the shoes of the father, since the father's right was to give since the father, we presume that when the person's not here, we go to the normal situation, says the Sman. The normal situation is people like to hold on the karka, then the Yisomim should have the same din. We should also claim for them that you can keep your metaltalin, because that's what the mazik would do, and they're just, inheriting the rights. He's not here, so they should be able to do the same thing. So he wants to say, as from here, exactly as you said, there's no issue of anyone's Ratzon here. And nothing to do with Ratzon. Not the Ratzon of the Mazik. I don't even think it's not Ratzon of the Nizak. He says it's not the Ratzon of the Nizak. He says it clearly. Hadin kahu ve'ein Mazik or Nizak. So don't try to, don't push that in. That's not what's going on here. We're talking about straight din Torah. Okay. Okay. So maybe it's a good place to stop. No, it really is a good place.
Is that the end of the Shach?
The end of the Shach. It's only the beginning of the Shach.
Oh, okay.
It's only the beginning. He's going to now bring Rabbeinu Tam and the Rush He's going to give Rabbeinu Tam and the Rush, and he's going to say that's very nice, but it has nothing to do with the Rambam. Then you see, he says the Das Rambam has nothing to do with how the Rush and Rabbeinu Tam holds. He's an independent, and then he's going to bring up a lot of people that hold it, and then he's going to prove it from this Gemara that we have to get into. So it's a long, long piece here. Look how long it is.
Nice.
So it's very, very, very big, powerful. It's like, I don't know what analogy I can give, like a super tanker, a battleship coming in here and blowing everything up and doing it on a premise that everyone shied away from. Now, these other people are big too. And I said simply they didn't want to touch this as the simple Peshat because they can't find the source. The Shach says, don't worry about it, I'm going to find you the source. It says what it means, and I'm going to find you the source. First of all, he said a lot of people are going to say it in the Rambam, and don't be afraid. The Rambam knows how to learn Gemara very well, and I'll show you how he learned it out. Okay? Anyway, but again, we see from when the gold was thrown down by the Beis Yosef, and how everybody just jumped on him because it's not the Rush. Comes along our heroine here over here, the Shach, and he's going to now push everyone aside and show you how to learn properly. And then we're going to keep going. This is only, what do we say, 1600, something like that, 1500. Then they're going to continue. I mean, we're going to get down, Bezrat Hashem, we'll get down to Rebbe Semelzer, who was the Rosh Yeshiva of the Yeshiva here of Eitz Chaim here, around 100 years ago, 50 years ago. That's as close as I'm going to get. If I find someone locally to speak, but you have to be big. You have to be. These men are very powerful. I often say, if you think of how many super geniuses do you have in any generation? You get guys that have 150, 600s. 175, 180, 190. But super geniuses are very, very rare, and it's those people that get into this learning, those who are allowed to talk here, they're all the creme de la creme of, but not only.
It's not even in any generation, I would say. I don't know.
No, it's not in every generation. You're right. It's even skips generation.
In the secular field, it's usually 1 or 2 per century. That's the general rate.
Oh.
I would say. Like the real, like Copernicus, that kind of.
Exactly, the real, right.
2 per century is already a very rich century, I would say.
Exactly. And here, these are big, big superpowers here that are battling for the emes Torah, and then it's Kaval to see. The beginning was the Beis Yosef, and comes in the Shach now is going to read the Rambam in his Pashut way. Don't run away from it. And he's going to prove it. He's going to push everyone aside. But then the battle just began. There's other great geniuses that can come around and say, to the Shach, you have some nice ideas, but I want to disarm you completely. You know what I mean? So, and then when we understand all that, we'll begin to understand what's going on. You know what I mean? Because again, we're broadening to do this type of stuff. He's broadening our perspective in order to, he says the Rambam sees a much larger picture here than just this Pop and Rav Huna here. And I'm going to show it to you in the Gemara, he sees a much larger, he's integrating the whole system. I wouldn't have thought it was possible so much until I saw Rav Shas Cohen, Yeshua Cohen, at 17 he was tested by Rebbe Lushev. Rebbe Lushev asked him the parak of Baba Kama, how many times did Tosfos say Inami? And he answered on the spot. So, if I didn't see a person like that, I would say, how could you keep all this information? And he's nowhere like, he, according to his own admission, he's not a researcher. He just said he has a tremendous amount of information in his head and coordinated, but he doesn't have the strength of these people. I don't think he would have the strength of, but the point is, I would never have believed it so, but there are people that can do it. And when the beauty of the learning, I believe, is having the accessibility to this type of, this level of learning. Now, even though we're probably not going to reach it, or we'll maybe make little notes on the side here and there, but it doesn't matter. Just to be privileged to see this depth is a wonderful, wonderful experience. I mean, it's beautiful. That's why you can make a bracha in the morning that the Torah should be yarevna. It should be beautiful and pleasant, because it is pleasant. But it just takes a great mind to met those implicit statements into explicit statements and to prove their points. So, Bezrat Hashem, we will continue. We had a little bit of a little break there with the breakdown of the internet, but things will get better, Bezrat Hashem.
Can I just share with you?
Yes, please.
As this I always bring in my chochmas goyim into the scenario. There's just, because what you said, it's it's an issue that comes up in my teaching as well with my students, and I give them an example from a movie that I saw years ago about Mozart. I don't know if you know. I think in the 80s there was a movie called Amadeus.
Yeah, something.
Coming out, or...
I was out of movies at that point, but it's okay. Yeah.
Oh, good. Baruch Hashem, it's good. There's I try to learn from whatever.
No, you have to.
You have to, exactly. So in this movie Amadeus, it's the whole premise behind the movie is that there is a great composer named Salieri. It's historically true. There was such a composer. I mean, they stretched the story, but it doesn't matter. But the story of the movie is that this great composer Salieri, who's a genius, is so envious of Amadeus because he realizes that he's a much greater genius. Like Mozart is in a class of his own, and there's this terrible rivalry between the two of them, and in the end, he actually, according to the movie, he murders Mozart, but indirectly. But what I find my favorite scene in the whole movie is when Salieri, this guy, this great conductor, he finds the sheet music of Mozart that he's been working on most recently, and he holds up the sheet music in front of his eyes, and he's going through it with his eyes. And of course, this guy himself is a great genius in his own right, so he can hear the music. He doesn't need an orchestra there. He can look at the sheet music, and it's alive to him in his ears. And it's so overwhelming that he's listening. He's looking over for about a minute, and then the sheets fall out of his hand onto the floor, and he faints. This is Salieri. So I say, you know what? This is something to learn from. Not all of us. I say, okay, not all of us can be Mozart, but at least to be Salieri. In other words, I mean, the fact that Salieri could faint while holding sheet music, that's a madrega.
Right, because the greats, exactly. He exactly. He proves the greatness. Wonderful. Okay, so we'll continue with the Shach next time. And did I send it to you? If you can look through it. If you have time. If not, we'll go through it slowly, and keep the music going. Be well. Have a great Shabbos. Kol tov.
You too. Have a good Shabbos.